We're live.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Albany Public Library Board of Trustees. We have 6 trustees present and 3 who are absent at the moment. So we will begin with public comment. Is there any public comment?
There is no public.
Right, thank you, Melanie. We will move on to our strategic plan, which we've put at the beginning of the agenda. Our strategic plan consultant, Mary Ellen Pichet, is here with us. But first, we thought it would make sense for the chair to give us an update on the 2 meetings that have happened since our full board meeting last month.
Okay, absolutely. On November 22nd, we met as a group, trustees, senior staff, APL staff, met and took a look at the SWOT analysis that was performed and recommendations that have been made by our patrons, our customers, and you move forward and develop some language, some recommendations for what elements should be included in the strategic plan. Subsequent to that meeting, we met on November 22nd, ad hoc meeting, and we took a look at the language that Mary Ellen had developed. She took all of her notes from that meeting that Sarah and brought them into the summary and strategic elements of the. And we did our part to make sure that the language that was being proposed was true to what was being recommended by everyone. We gave it back to Mary Ellen. She sent us back a draft document. And so we had opportunity to review again and make some minor tweaks. And so today we'd like to present the updated draft to the board for adoption. Mary Ellen was prepared to share the changes. I believe that you all received copies of the draft. And we've made some tweaks in addition, after that draft. So Mary Ellen is prepared to share that with you. And we would like to recommend your consideration.
Okay, so most of these are wordsmithing or grammar change, so forth. So in the executive summary, we would spell out the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Under values, collaboration would be proactively instead of actively. Under diversity, commit instead of commitment. Under integrity, maintain instead of committed to. Committed to, and change protecting to protect. Under vision, spell out APL. And then under strategic goals and objectives, we are crossing out that first section and starting with the following 4 goals to inform the decision making of the Albany Public Library for the next 3 years. And then under community engagement, objective number 1, strike regularly. Under the goal number 2, the workforce, objective number 2, strike APL. Under diversity, equity, inclusion, and access goal, we will strike ensure and have it read: APL provides services that are rooted in the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, both internally and externally. Objective number 1 under that goal, strike APL. And then under sustainability, strike continually under objective number 1. Number 2, strike APL. And number 3, rephrase it to read: foster holistic professional development, staff, interns, and volunteers throughout their service experience. And then there's the odd addition of a period or 2 to make sense.
So Mary Ellen, could you read again what you said for the diversity, equity,
Yes.
inclusion
The
change?
third,
Yeah,
sure. Foster holistic professional development of staff, interns, and volunteers throughout their service experience.
that was the third under sustainability.
Correct.
Okay, so. Okay, so that's taking out the word plan, taking out the limitation of a plan and making it a little bit broader. Does anybody have questions on the plan in general? Do you have any other thoughts, Arlene or Mary Ellen or Andrea?
I just want to thank the work of the ad hoc committee and the work of Mary Ellen in developing this plan. I think I'm looking forward to moving forward with it with the board and the staff of the library.
Okay, I echo that. So the plan comes to us on a recommendation from the ad hoc committee that it be adopted. So I guess we're not adopting it at this. Are we adopting it right now or later in the agenda?
Well,
I forget how we did it, sorry.
the next item on the agenda is the strategic plan draft.
Okay,
So I think if the board accepts the minor changes that were just articulated, you could adopt the plan.
all right,
Doesn't exist on the agenda anywhere else, so.
yeah. All right, so the committee has made a motion to adopt it. So what is required from us is a second and then a vote.
Second.
Sarah Dallas seconds the motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, everybody.
Yay.
The fun begins.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Mary Ellen. Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you. All right, good work. And so that'll return us to our normal agenda. So the next item is item 4, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? If not, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Thank you. Arlene makes a motion. Is there a second? Lynette seconds the motion. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Item 5 is finance. I will turn it over to Sean and Adam for our finance report.
Hello. The reports this month cover October 2022, which is 33% of the way through our 22-23 fiscal year. As of the end of October, our total revenue represents 32% of what was budgeted for, and our total expenditures represent 33% of what was budgeted for. So pretty much in line with where we should be at this point. And then I just wanted to point out, we did make one reporting change that you'll notice. The interest income line under support and revenue on the treasurer's report has been updated to no longer include the unrealized gain or loss on investments. We made this change just to provide a better representation of what the actual investment income received was. The net change in investment value is still captured on the cash and investment summary report. So I'll turn it over to Adam.
Thank you, Sean. So facilities costs continue to accumulate, although our utilities costs for October were closer to the prior year's cost than the last several months have been. It's good. Payroll costs trending under budget continues to be the primary reason why the overall budget is not trending over. And the proposed budget modification will appear on next month's reports. I mean, this. Questions on the reports, be happy to.
Any questions on the report or the treasurer's report? Or the capital fund report? Right. Hearing none. Thank you very much, guys. So we will move on to committee and liaison reports. First is trustees reporting out for things we did this month. Paige.
Did two different events. One was at the Delaware branch. It was the World Year Fair about virtual reality. The all things for a lot of fun to actually to like handle the series too. So to that, and then also went to the Winter Arts exhibit opening at the Pine Hills branch, and the theme of that exhibit was neither here nor there. It was had the Albany High School band and a lot of folks in attendance. So good month.
Nice. Any others?
At the commissioner, the deputy commissioner, and the whole team for we had representation from the library.
Kristen Connors, our director of HR.
Relationship that they can with the library and communicate with new information about opportunities.
Very nice. Yeah. Any others? All right, thank you. Next is our committee report from the Audit and Finance Committee.
Yes, we met on Tuesday, November 29th to review proposed budget modifications. Adam was very kind and said he'll walk us through it. But I also wanted to share that we have committee dates as we move forward to having a budget to present to the community. 2/2, 2/16, 2/28 is the APL budget meeting at 6 p.m. And the other two committee meetings are also at 6 p.m. here at Washington Avenue. Adam, you feel comfortable?
We're gonna go through that in the,
We're going to do that later.
Later
Okay.
under new business. Yeah. All right, thank you, Sarah. And now policy and governance.
We had our meeting, Tuesday, December 6th. Lot to discuss as usual. We have a couple recommendations to the board. And those are outlined below later on in the agenda. Room use policy, website privacy policy, tobacco use policy, social media, and the Albany Made Creative Lab policy that was tabled for our next meeting, which will be January 24th. In attendance, myself, trustee Pryor, trustee West, Andrea Nicolay, and Melanie Metzger, and yeah, it's pretty much it. We'll have a later discussion about everything we talked about. So.
All right, very nice, thank you. That brings us to our Upper Hudson report. Okay, Upper Hudson did not meet due to their calendar. All right, so last thing I want to do is ask any committee chairs if they have any planned meetings between now and our January meeting, just to keep us all informed of what's happening.
not scheduled.
All right.
When will our next executive meeting be?
For what? Like an executive committee?
Yeah.
We don't have any scheduled. We only meet when we need to. Let's move on to our director's report.
All right. Well, November, I always catch myself because I see December 2022 director's report. And I think, well, we're still in December, but yes, this is about November. So we had a couple of really successful outreach visits in November. One was at Albany High on November 8th, where 2 APL staffers were able to attend and issue 70 new cards to students, which I think is a tremendous number for any outreach event, but specifically engaging high school students and getting them cards is a wonderful thing. We also saw the return of First Saturday for Families with an in-person drum circle here at Washington Ave for parents and caregivers and kids aged 0 to 8 with 38 people in attendance, which is a great turnout for an in-person program these days. We, under operations, we started something new, which with the help of the collection management services team, excuse me, we are starting to kind of promote new releases to patrons who are leaving or attending the Tuesday book talks in this auditorium. So it's just another way to connect people with some of the new and exciting materials at APL. We are seeing COVID cases among APL staff subside, but the flu season has hit us really, really hard, both in terms of our staff and their families, quite honestly. Sometimes we see staff having to stay home to do childcare because of sickness at home. So that has really hit us pretty hard in terms of finding staff to cover those shifts. So we're doing the best we can, but sometimes staff have to shift around in ways that they're not familiar with, and that always causes a little bit of a stress. Under administration, my focus, as you know, continues to be listening to the community and learning. And so I've had a really great set of meetings at various branches with the drop-ins, the meet and greets. And I finished my last one this week, just last night at Howe, and I had a turnout of 3. It's been a turnout of between 1 and 5 patrons at each drop-in, which, considering, the season and everything, that's pretty good. We're able to have very good, intimate conversations about library services, about what roles the attendees play in the community. Some of the folks who come out include the Red Bookshelf representatives, representatives from BOCES. So a lot of the organizations that we partner with already, if they have new people, they've come to meet me. And that's been a really fantastic outcome of those meet and greets. I also presented at the Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations on the 2nd of November and the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association on the 17th. And met the mayor, no small thing, met the mayor and the Commissioner of Administrative Services, which is the office that oversees city civil service. And we had an excellent conversation about the ways in which some of the processes involved in civil service are slowing us down, specifically the grading of tests at the state level. So we're considering some advocacy actions to accelerate or put some pressure on the state to address that grading that needs to happen in order for people to turn up on the eligibility list. I need to move through this a little faster, don't I? I attended, the NYLA conference in Saratoga. That was wonderful. I saw Sarah there. I saw several other APL staff members there. And it was really, really worthwhile. I attended a webinar called Addressing Trauma in Urban Public Libraries that was offered by Empire State Library Network. That was also extremely informative and gave me some great tips as far as following up with staff who experience traumatic incidents in our library system and what to do immediately after them. We convened, Lex Lex Bagat, the executive director of FFAPL, and I convened a Centennial focus group of a few development staff from FFAPL, as well as some library staff. And the purpose was to kind of regroup on Centennial year goals for FFAPL and for APL, and start thinking about all of the celebrations that we want to host for the community to get involved in. And FFAPL will also be looking at fundraising opportunities within the Centennial year. The gala will not take place in the fall. It'll be something else, something a little bit bigger and maybe different to really make the most of the Centennial year opportunity to grow their donor database and engage more folks and heighten the profile of the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library. Sort of tangential to that, I met with city historian Tony Opalka for an overview of the Prime Room, and we had a great chat about the history of his experience as city historian. And I talked about ways that we can incorporate local history into the Centennial celebrations. We're just kind of the very early stages of brainstorming around that. Statistics wise, we are recovering in a really great way in terms of overall circulation numbers, which are now at pre-pandemic levels, with juvenile circulation surpassing pre-pandemic levels at Arbor Hill, Bach, and Howe, which is pretty phenomenal. And we can say the same for print and material circulation at Arbor Hill, Bach, Pine Hills, and Howe. Our DAR counts also continue to rise with meeting room usage returning to pre-pandemic levels at Delaware and Arbor Hill. On the topic of safety, the safety committee continues to work on ways to address safety concerns, and not just talking about ways to make our buildings safer or our staff experience on desk safer, but also kind of the follow-up around incidents, like what we do to respond to staff who just experienced an incident. And sometimes it's as simple as, hey, thanks for handling that. You did a good job. Thank you for navigating that difficult situation. We see you, we acknowledge that the work that you're doing. It can be that simple, but it really makes a huge difference to the staff who are under stress in that moment, dealing with a difficult situation involving a patron with mental health challenges, involving someone who is having a very bad day, involving any number of situations that they have to de-escalate. So we continue to kind of be creative and proactive about how we respond to incidents within the library, in addition to looking at ways we can strengthen our resources for staff who are referring patrons to social services agencies who are trying to get in touch with the right person at the right time to address the need. So I did want to kind of include this incident report chart in the report just to show you kind of the trajectory of 2022 so far. You can see that we're on a bit of an upswing right now, and that it hovers above the 2021 incident report numbers. And that's a few different things. I mean, foot traffic has increased obviously tremendously since 2021. And we also always see a spike around the holidays. It's a very stressful season, especially if you're poor, if you're disadvantaged in any number of ways, you're experiencing that much more stress, and it comes into the library with you. So moving on from safety and incidents, we have some wonderful partnership projects always going on at the library that help us meet community need for all kinds of things. We were thanked by the Washington Park Conservancy for promoting and celebrating the Lantern Parade. We brought United Tenants of Albany inside Washington Ave to provide on-site services related to tenants' rights and assistance. And that kind of partnership is so, it's a multiplier effect. When we can partner with an organization like that and provide services inside the library where people know they can come and get what they need. I mean, that's an amazing partnership. It takes stress off the staff, and it's a really productive way to make use of our space. Let's see, COVID-19 vaccinations continue. Pop-up pet pantry is available at Arbor Hill West Hill as well. That's a very popular service. And we had some good environmental work with New York Power Authority presenting weatherization workshops at a few of our locations. We partnered with the Street Soldiers. This was pretty amazing. We provided 50 winter care packs. We had volunteers helping us put those packs together, and we distributed toiletries, gloves, hats, scarves to 50 folks in need in the South End. We continue to work with the New York State Tax Department on getting patrons the help they need during tax season as well. And then you can read, you've had a chance to read the extensive reporting on all of the activities that are happening in our branches that take up the rest of this report, but I did want to hold space for questions or comments as well.
Please thank the staff for their incredible work. And because, you know, I always feel that staff is our greatest resource, and they're making the services available. They're on the front lines and they are appreciated.
Thank you. I will. Okay. That's what I got.
Thank you. You get on statistics too.
Yes,
Okay.
statistics are available for review. We break them down in all the usual ways. I did excerpt that incident report section of the statistics into the director's report, but otherwise it's the usual array.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so that will bring us to unfinished business, under which we have one item, which is scheduling our core training. I sent an email that I just wanted to talk about briefly. Everyone filled out the scheduling poll for the core training. Thank you everyone for doing it. The best day was when 7 trustees are available on Saturday, January 14th at 9 a.m. So I asked everyone to hold that date, and Upper Hudson is available to do it at that time. So I'd just like to lock in that time for one of our trainings, and that will probably be the core training that Upper Hudson does routinely. The other potential date is January 25th. That's the day the next most that worked the best for the next most amount of people. So 6 trustees are available on January 25th in the evening. I think Tim said he could do 6:30, and that would be probably 90 minutes. And Upper Hudson would do like another training in addition to core that they've done with boards before that they found to be helpful. So I just wanted to ask if everyone wanted to do that. I know there's only 6 of us. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone else felt like that would still be a valuable use of our time, even if 3 folks can't make it. Andrea.
Trustee West, so I have a clarifying question. So the training on January 25th, is that a repeat of the training on January 14th?
No, it would be a different training that is more customized to APL. So we can all give feedback to or give input as to what skills we want to work on or what like we want to talk about in the training, and Upper Hudson can like guide us through it.
Okay. Is there a planned makeup session for January 14th?
There can be. So Upper Hudson does this training other times. And I'll go back to that, but I also wanted to say that the training on January 14th is virtual. We can do it in person if we all want to, but Upper Hudson thought we could do it virtually and we would get the same effect. So that's up to us. As far as a makeup, yes, there are other times when it can be done with Upper Hudson. You wouldn't be doing it just with APL people. There'd be like other libraries with in the same session. But they will do other ones around this time of year.
So would it be my responsibility to schedule a makeup session or would that be done for me?
It would be done at a time convenient for you. So like you and I can email Tim if that's like convenient. He can tell us what times they plan on offering it.
I would also like to add, this is a training that happens quarterly, so 4 times a year. The same training is offered. It's just the schedule for those trainings are up on their website yet. Tim said he would have those, available soon, but I don't think he's gonna have them until early like next year when those dates will be, so. I think the makeup session you're talking about will be more specific to you, but just in general, there are quarterly ones. Yeah.
And how long is it again?
It's just under 2 hours. Sarah.
Tom and I did do this training, seems like a gazillion years ago, but it's really good and I always learn something new. I'm guessing Mary and Tim will be doing it and they're very, very skilled facilitators. And it would also go towards the mandatory 2-hour trustee training.
Yeah, so there's a state requirement that trustees do at least 2 hours of training of this type starting in 2023. So this training would fulfill our minimum for the year. Page.
Can you remind me on the poll you conducted, how far you looked out? And sort of my follow-up question to that is if the second training that you floated the idea of the 25th is far more specific, I kind of wonder if we could try to get the number of trustees up since that one is probably done in person. And I think is one of those opportunities for us to all be in the same room. So I'll let you answer my first question. Like how far did we look out? Because if we could.
So we looked at the entire month of January.
Okay.
And we didn't go out to February.
I know conducting these polls and filling them out can be tricky, but if others think it sounds reasonable, I think it might be worth looking at February to try to get more than 6 of us. Like I know that's aspirational, but if possible, I don't know. I think it would be nice to have all of us in a room together for that one, but one person.
Yeah, I agree. I'm torn. But I do think the more people, the better, generally.
You want to try another doodle poll to see if we have better? And then we can decide what to do with the other 2 dates.
Yeah, we can do a doodle poll for February, and if nothing is better in February, then we can stick with January 25th. That sound okay?
Can I offer a suggestion for the board to consider? If in the January doodle poll, it turned up that certain times were just always bad, then you could always just slim down the poll to like the times that generally people were more able to do, like the evenings or weekends. So that could slim down because I know the doodle poll can be, yes, so many options that it's like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and looking at your calendar at the same time. And so just a suggestion.
So what are your thoughts on, you have 6 of us here, getting our availability now and then just sending the poll to those 3 members that are not here based on our availability, if everybody has their calendar.
I'm not opposed to that. The only thing is that what I did last time is I based the poll on Upper Hudson's availability. So if we were to do it now, we wouldn't know if those days are good for them.
But at least it's a starting point. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Did the poll, I mean, everyone did fill out the poll.
I'm not the owner of the poll. I have no clue.
No, I mean, the poll.
Oh, you're
worked.
saying everybody filled it
Yeah,
out?
everyone filled it out and the poll worked pretty well. Except that it's hard to find a day that works for everybody.
I don't remember what I put, so if it's where 6 people are available and maybe I'm one of the people who said no, I can adjust my schedule. But
Yeah, I
I just tried
can't.
to look, I just tried to look back, but February is a wash for me, pretty much, like, as I look at my calendar.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. All right. In that case, well, why don't we? I think it makes sense then to move forward with January 25th, if everyone's okay with that. One of the things Upper Hudson communicated to me was that it helps to do the 2 trainings within a relatively close time span. So that's another kind of point towards doing it on the 25th. So if there's no really strong objections, I'm in favor of keeping the 25th.
I won't be able to make it, but still scheduling that training. I just won't be there. Whenever I find out dates, of course, for any other training, the quarterly ones, of course, I'll let everybody know, but they also post them online as well. I'm also in favor of pushing out another doodle poll for February and March as well. And the purpose of this is to have all trustees there is what my understanding of it was, but maybe not. And if that's not the case, then I don't see anything wrong with scheduling it for the 25th, and whoever doesn't make it, they just don't make it and can make another training.
Yeah, I think, we've done, I think, 3 polls and we've never gotten a day where everybody could do it, which is okay. Like, we're volunteers and we're all really busy.
I thought that last poll was supposed to be for more months, so like it was only for January. I thought it was going to be pushed out further for further time period. I thought that was the purpose of doing the poll, so.
Yeah, I guess I thought January would be long enough. What do you think, Andrea, about the balance here?
Well, I know that the ideal was to have all the trustees for the training. I think offering a few February dates wouldn't necessarily hurt at this point. I mean, if you've waited this long. I mean, in the interest of having all the board together for at least one of the 2, it might be worth it to look at some of those February dates and see. I think the important thing is that board have an opportunity. I mean, I think that in-person opportunity to be together and like team build is probably what everybody here is looking for. I hesitate to, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but that's the sentiment I've heard come up at other meetings. So,
Tom, one thing I've seen that works for other library boards from time to time is you all know that you've got 12 dates on the calendar already. what you could do is you could identify January or February as a meeting that you are going to intentionally make a thin agenda and
Mhm.
schedule an hour and a half within that meeting for the training. You're gonna end up having a 2 hour long plus meeting, but if you know that the agenda will be kept light and you dispense with reports and things like that, you can still make it doable on a night that everybody theoretically should have already blocked off anyway. I've seen that work to get everybody together on things like this before.
Yeah,
I like that.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, that would be good. So we have 2 meetings in February and we could stack one with everything that we can and just leave the bare minimum for the other. And that might work pretty well.
Did I? Okay, so please forgive me.
No.
I know we have a meeting, we have 2 meetings in February,
Yeah.
2
so-
board meetings in February.
Yeah, so it's been every year we do this in February, we have 2 meetings and one of them is reserved just to talk about the budget.
And what day is that one?
That's February 28th.
There it is, 4th Tuesday. 6 o'clock?
Yes. And then our other one, we moved to February 7th.
Yep, I'm looking at it.
So just to clarify, Tom, are you suggesting that we use you use the February 28th meeting as the twofer?
I would say the February 7th.
Yeah, I would say the
Yeah,
7th.
the 28th is a budget meeting, and I think that would already be a long meeting. You would use the 7th.
Yeah,
Or push it to March. That would be the only other thing.
so, and this is pending Upper Hudson being available on the 7th. But they were available some Tuesdays in January, so hopefully that would carry over. So we could just do like, there's not like at the budget meeting, depending on how long we anticipate to talking about the budget, which we'll have an idea of once we get closer. We could do other things in addition to the budget in order to make February 7th shorter.
And once the training starts, it's no longer a public meeting.
Correct. So we would, adjourn the meeting, ask the public to leave, and we would stay for the training.
And I think it would be just the board and Tim and Mary, correct?
And you, I think,
Okay,
if you want,
okay.
but or whatever we all want. But I was gonna take Tim's cue.
Yeah, for some reason I have him, I remember him saying it should be for the team building aspect, it should be the board only, but I'll double check with him and
Okay.
see.
I would agree with that. If it's team building, then,
Then let's
we're
do that.
kind of trying to get to know each other, and so I would agree with the board only.
Will there be donuts?
Oh, my gosh.
That can be arranged.
At the board's discretion.
So for the moment, let's make that plan A. And I will check with Upper Hudson to see if that date works for them. So that would be February 7th. We'd have our regular meeting at 6 o'clock. And immediately following that, we'd do a training that would be an hour to 90 minutes.
Can I just troubleshoot really quickly? So if for some reason it's a day that they're not available, is there a cost, an added cost to have Tim and, I can't remember the other person's name, to have them just say, okay, we'll make this a special day for them, even though it's not a day that we're doing the training? Is there an added cost for that?
For what? For a special date for what?
If February 7th, they are not available and just for whatever reason, and we can get them to agree to do it as a pullout, is there an added cost?
Like a monetary cost? No, they, all their trainings are free to us.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if they're like, yeah, that's a day we're not open, I'm just making it plain.
Mhm.
They're like, that's a day we're not open. We're like, can you really, really do this for us? Because this is the day that we're all available. would they say, yes, we can, but now because it's not a regularly scheduled date that we have set aside for training?
I see what you're saying, but no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't charge. So it really comes down to their availability.
Yeah, I think their
As far as their-
availability is just based on like, have they agreed to meet with another board on the same day? They've been good about making themselves available on as many days as possible.
Awesome.
It's their job.
I got it. I knew that. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm sure even though it's their job, they have blackout dates, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll be plan A. I will email everyone what Upper Hudson says. As a plan B, I would just ask for now if everyone could hold February 25th as open, January 25th as open as a backup plan. And we can have email correspondence about what we want to do if February 7th is not a good day. That sound okay? All right. Thank you. So let's move on to new business. First up is the ULAN agreement. And I'll ask Andrea to, so this is something we do every year. We take a vote on this agreement, but I'll ask Andrea to explain this year's agreement and also what it is generally.
Sure, yeah. So the Upper Hudson Library Access Network Agreement is the way that APL gets services through Upper Hudson Library Network. We pay, and every library within the network pays a fee each year to allow for delivery of materials, to support our integrated library system that supports everything involved with circulation, and virtually everything else that is involved with running the library on in terms of shared resources. So our fee for 2023 has gone up a slight 2%, which is not as bad as it could have been. For other places like East Greenbush, it went up 5%. 2% is the minimum increase. And it's based on a whole calculus that they do involving circulation numbers, involving transactions of interlibrary loans and so forth. So all things considered, it's a fairly minimal increase, and we will owe them $60,120 for 2023 total. Sure.
It says it's a 3-year contract.
Yes, but this is just a 1 year. This is just the one, they charge each year. They recalculate each year.
And do they do the delivery among the branches?
Yes.
And it's so worth it.
Gas is a big reason why the fees have gone up slightly. Yes, Andrea.
So are these, so that 2% increase, is there a contingency that is calculated or forecasted in the budget? Meaning the budget that was
yes.
already approved, was
Right.
there a forecast for an increase, and what is the percentage of the forecast? And so was there a contingency put in there for this possible increase?
Great question. It's a 2-part answer. So for one thing, this 2023 annual fee straddles our fiscal years.
Mhm.
So in terms of forecasting the half that we're paying for in fiscal year 23, we didn't necessarily know that it was going to be this amount, but we do have a sense every year that it's going to go up slightly.
Mhm.
Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, this increase, it is factored into this budget modification we're discussing tonight. And I mean, we always expect it to increase, by a couple, percent points every year. So yeah, I mean, that the increase is something we always consider.
So by saying it's always considered, are you also saying that that contingency is placed into the budget that is then voted on in May or June?
we don't know the exact figure at that time, which is why it's addressed in the budget modification that we'll be talking about later this evening. So the halfway point in the fiscal year. So now is when we recalibrate, we account for it, we make sure that we have enough for
Right.
everything else.
And that makes sense because a budget is a fluid document. So I do understand that. I guess what I'm saying is not the exact percent, because you're not going to know, you're not going to know the exact dollar amount, but usually you have contingency funds. Within those contingency funds, you have a pot of money and saying, okay, we know this is going to go up. We know this is going to go up. We know this is going to go up. So let's set aside
Mhm.
or contingencies or set asides. Let's set aside $100,000 to cover these contingencies that may be this amount, maybe this amount. You don't know what it is. I'm just asking, is there a set aside amount calculated in the budget? Not necessarily this exact dollar amount, but for more, because I'm sure this is not the only thing that'll crop up, but then that would prevent you from having to continuously do budget modifications. I'm just asking. That's all I'm asking.
The answer is no, we don't have a contingency built into the budget at the beginning of the fiscal year. But it's certainly something that we could consider.
Thank you.
I'm new to the fee structure, so.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just thinking about budgets in general. Whenever, I'm doing budgets or working on budgets, there's always stuff that crops up and there's
right.
always a percentage of a contingency that you set aside just in case.
Yeah.
The other thing is they know that not all libraries operate on a January to December.
Mhm.
We are the school district calendar as well as the other school district calendars. It would be nice if they were able to tell us a year earlier what they're projecting.
It would be nice. However, the data that they need to do the calculations doesn't come in time to do that.
I get it. Just one thing that maybe we could talk about next time is using the year before.
Mhm.
Because we are not going up dramatically. In fact, they probably would do better with, I don't know what I'm saying, but I think there are patterns
Mhm.
and the circulation won't change that much. Our buying power won't change that much. The mileage and all the other things that they offer.
Yeah, well, it's my understanding that we actually did include last year's fee as a basis, as a holding line for this year's fee. Is that right, Adam?
Essentially, it's
Yeah. So we had 58,941 in the line, and it through the modification that we're discussing later this evening, we adjusted that up to the 60,120. So yeah, to your point, we do use historical data to at least have a placeholder for this fee in our budget. Any other questions about the ULAN agreement?
If there are no other questions, then I will entertain a motion to approve the agreement or adopt the agreement. I don't know what we say.
The suggested is to renew the service agreement with Upper Hudson Library Network and release payment for the 2023 service with the understanding that it's the first half of the payment, essentially.
Someone like to make that?
Trustee West, I move that we renew APL service agreement with the Upper Hudson Library Network and release payment for 2023 service.
Thank you, Trustee West. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson. All in favor of adopting the agreement? Motion carries unanimously. All right. So we move on to item 9.2, which is our budget modification. I'll turn it over to Sarah and Adam to walk us through what's in this document.
And I'll turn it over to Adam.
All right, well, I'll just try to provide a brief overview of the most notable aspects of this document. So as you can see, the majority of the modifications took place on the expenditure side of the budget. Basically, there were a handful of lines that we felt we needed to increase to meet the budgetary needs of the remainder of the fiscal year. The most notable ones being utilities, IT services, and full-time salary. To offset those increases, we did identify a handful of lines that we felt we could increase and still remain within the budgetary needs for the remainder of the fiscal year. Those lines, the most notable ones would be part-time salaries, building improvements, and IT software. The net result of all these modifications was an increase to both the total revenue and total expenditures of just over $7,000. So very minimal change to the bottom line. There's no change to the fund balance usage projection. So, ultimately, I feel it's a very straightforward modification for that reason. In the committee meeting, we went over the details of each individual modification. I'm happy to address those if anyone has any questions.
Any questions on this modification? All right, thank you, Adam.
I'm just still looking at it.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I'm trying to,
No problem.
sorry.
No problem.
So it's not taking new money and putting into the budget, it's allocating certain lines to make up for the deficits.
Right, but there's still, it looks like there's still an increase of a little over $7,000.
No, because we're making up for it in revenue.
So there's an increase in revenue of 7,000.
And I want to add that part of the reason for the revenue increase is due to a donation that was made through an estate. We were not expecting that donation this year, but the remainder of the distribution happened in this fiscal year. So that really helped that line out. And that's why the revenue is unexpectedly higher than it would be in a normal fiscal year.
Trustee West, I move to adopt the recommendation of the Audit and Finance Committee.
Right, so the committee has made a motion. Trustee West seconds the motion. All in favor of adopting the budget modification? All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Sarah. All right, agenda item 9.3. So the next 4 agenda items are policies that were considered by the Policy and Governance Committee over their meeting earlier in the month. So I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Gauze to or whoever wants to tell us about the changes in the policy or the room use policy.
So for the room use policy, it boiled down to, the addition of individuals in the first line, in the paragraph. That really addressed really well the concerns that we had in reference to, who will be included, who can use the room, there was some clarity that needed to happen in reference to what a group is, who could be considered a group, organizations, who cannot. So just placing the word individuals in that paragraph when it's listing all of the different entities that can use the room, seemed like that would solve the problem. Pretty basic. Well, the suggestion, basic, not the issue.
In a minute, I'll ask for questions, but do you think since we're doing 4 policies, do you think it's okay to maybe do one motion at the end that does all 4, or do we have to do them separate?
I would do them separately
Okay.
just in case people have different feelings on them.
Okay, no problem. Any questions on room use policy?
There was one other teeny tiny change on the 3rd page. Jerry, if it's okay to speak to that one, just removing the videotapes and changing it to DVDs and videos, because we no longer have videotapes. That was the only other minor change.
Just a question. This is the policy in the procedures. If we're talking about one person, an individual reserving a large meeting room, is there something in your procedures that there's one person can't reserve this room, it would go to a larger group or group of individuals?
Well,
We don't actually have a way of knowing when someone reserves a space, whether they're going to be one person or one person representing many people. I think the inclusive element of including the word individuals spoke more to the idea that some people, when reading this policy, might assume that they have to be part of an official organized group or organization, and adding individuals just opens it up.
No,
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I think this is a great addition, but I'm thinking in how you do your procedures for the staff.
The reason, in that situation, it's more of like kind of unwritten rule. We see that it's one person, because we do ask what the expected is. If they're putting down one person, we're gonna probably push them and say, would a study group want to do better?
Okay, that's all.
Because we have to study, and that's why we also included individuals in this, is because this also does cover our study groups as we do allow our.
That's all. Just, I didn't want a staff person to be caught in a situation, a potential
That's kinda like a-
situation.
Mhm.
Something more appropriate. But it's ultimately, this would work for them.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Other questions on room use? There are no more questions. We will take
Was that a question?
then we can take a motion to adopt the changes.
Make a motion that we adopt changes to the meeting room use policy.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson. Is there a second?
It came from committee.
committee, yeah.
Oh, right. So the committee has moved. Trustee Robinson seconds the motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Move to the website privacy policy.
For the website privacy policy, that one was just a matter of replacing the web development committee because it is no longer in existence to the information technology department under the responsibility section. Little wordsmith in there, but that was it as far as what we saw. our recommendations.
All right, thank you. Any questions? If there are none, the committee has made a motion and we can take a second.
A second.
Thank you, Paige. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next is the tobacco use policy.
We had a lot of discussion as usual. For this, there would be an additional asterisk, additional point, just to see APL behavior policy for other restrictions. That was the only change that we recommend.
Okay, are there any questions on this policy? Right, if there are none, the committee has motion, so we'll take a second. Thank you, trustee Wei. All in favor? All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Last policy is our social media policy revisions.
Social media, a lot of discussion as well. Under responsibility, just to change out the web development committee with the communications department. That's who will be handling this.
I actually got that slightly wrong.
Okay.
It's the official title of the department is Communication and Creative Services Department. So it would just be,
So with the communication and creative services.
yes.
Right now, does the committee's recommendation still count if we want to?
You have to make it amended.
Can you say motion to approve as amended?
You just have,
The committee has to.
Yeah, so we'll just take a new motion on this one with that.
So my understanding is that the maker of the original motion, which would be the committee, so the committee chair can say, I'm amending my motion to read, and then they amend it, and then you get a second.
I don't know that the chair has the authority to do that on behalf of the committee, though. I think you're better off just making a motion right from the floor, starting over.
But you already have a motion on the floor, so the motion on the floor either has to be amended or killed.
Nobody's brought it up here. The committee there's no second to it. So there's no motion on the floor. I think you're better off starting from scratch.
Yeah, it's easy enough to start from scratch. So whenever there are no more questions, we're ready to take a motion to approve it with the correct name of the department inserted.
So I'll make a motion to Communication Creative Services Department, you said? I make a motion to replace the Web Development Committee with the Communication and Services Department and the social media policy.
I think it's creative something, right?
Communication and
Communication
Creative
and Creative
Services.
Services.
Yeah, she had it.
Did I say that?
I thought you did.
Oh.
Need a second?
Is there a second?
I'll be happy to second it.
Thank you, trustee Dallas. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next is our quarterly board evaluation. It's nothing to do in the meeting, but after the meeting or tomorrow at the latest, I'm going to send around the evaluation, which is a Google form in our emails. So keep an eye out for that. And then next month, we'll report on the results. Okay, last under new business is a correction of typos in the meeting schedule for our meetings in 2023. If you open the document, you can see the changes are highlighted in the red. So the May meeting is actually May 9th. That's the second Tuesday. And the August meeting is August 8th. So all the meetings are still the second Tuesday, but we just originally had the wrong Tuesday when we approved this last month.
My apologies about that. We triple check them and we still get it wrong sometimes. So
You need a motion? I'd be very happy to make a motion to accept the proposed corrections to the 2023 meetings.
Thank you. Is there a second? Trustee Barnum, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. So we do have a need for executive session tonight. But first, is there any public comment? All right, thank you, Melanie. So then at this time, we will entertain a motion to enter executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters. That's it, right? To discuss collective bargaining matters.
I move that we go into executive session.
Thank you, Trustee West. Is there a second? Trustee Gauze, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Sean and Adam. You guys can head out.
thanks.
Have a good week and month.
I just had a quick question. Give me 1 second so I can.
Okay, we are back in session.
Okay, so we are back in regular session and we're gonna move on to agenda item 11.3. And I will entertain a motion to approve the CSEA memorandum of agreement with APL.
Make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Wei. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Robinson. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Great work. Thank you, everyone. With that, I believe that is all we have to talk about, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Trustee West makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Robinson, all in favor of adjourning? Motion carries unanimously.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, I'd like to, thank you for your support and wish you all happy holidays.
Everybody. Are we gonna meet more often than the few times we had scheduled?